Hey everybody, as you know, we do the intro at the beginning. So we just talked for an hour and 19 minutes. Today's very special guest, actor, writer, producer, comedian, and future Frenchman, JF Harris. Welcome to the show, JF.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. In this episode, we talked about...
I felt like we were going to touch
We
hands
are.
just
We're
then.
touching. I'll get a close-up of that. We talked about all kinds of stuff. Premier League soccer, bowling. We talked about inside baseball, about touring and comedians and shooting
Stand-up
specials. We geeked out on the film business for a little while. JF has amazing credits. He's been in the writer's room on a couple of different shows. So if you're into inside comedy, you're going to be inside us. So check out JF at the JF Harris.
Be inside of me.
Be inside us. And follow him. It's going to be here. I'll put it on lower thirds. But
I don't care.
Enjoy the episode. Thank you for being
It's
here.
also funny because we just talked about people fucking up my name at the end.
Right.
Yeah.
Stick around to the end. I was total YouTuber. Stick around to the end. Like and subscribe where we talk about, we'll tell you later.
Yeah.
But thank you for being here. Enjoyed
Thanks
the
for
chat.
having me.
And we will hopefully see you again soon.
Yeah, I'll probably see you at the Improv in the next couple days.
20 minutes probably.
Probably.
Awesome.
I'm there April 6th if this is coming out before then. But if it's not, go to my website to see where I'm coming on tour near you.
And he's coming... I don't want to make a Tom Segura joke, but he's coming everywhere.
Yeah, I am. Yeah. Especially if you're in France.
Are you doing a pod right now?
I'm not. I keep going back and forth. I've thought about doing. I did a pilot for one with ATC, and we shot a bunch of them back in the day. And if I released all those podcasts now, it'd be crazy because when I just brought on it was me and all female comics.
Oh, nice.
And at the time, everyone I had on, nobody was famous yet, and now it's like if I went back, it's like Hannah Einbinder before Hacks.
Right.
Who else? Squirm before she was on SNL because we wrote on a TV show together.
Yeah.
So it was all like that kind of stuff. Laura Bites. And
Wow.
Before Laura popped.
Just rename it Before the Pop. Just put it out.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
But I had a premise, and it was like one of those premise-driven ones. And then like some of the episodes were really good, and then some I was just like, this was fine.
Yeah.
So, and then I've thought about doing like shoot the shit ones or ones where I bring people on to talk about art.
Yeah.
Or and I have two other ideas for them right now, but it's always like, is this enough for a podcast?
Right.
You know,
I totally know because I'm not famous whatsoever.
Yeah.
So the strength of the show is built off the strength of the guest.
Yeah.
And if you have
Get ready
two
for
famous,
big numbers right now,
look at
buddy.
that. Ding, 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 ding. I've had what I think would be a big guest on, and it tanks because it's buried in all their other content.
Yeah.
And then I've had people who I didn't think would move the number, and then they have very little content on YouTube, and they blow up. So there's really no way to tell.
Yeah.
And then the clips are whatever the clips are. But
Yeah.
they're usually the guest being funny, so I'm creating a platform for other people to shine on my social media.
Yeah.
So what I've decided is that podcasts are for people with a following already, but I'm too deep into this. I'm 5 years into this show, and I'm not going to quit.
Yeah, why not? Yeah. Also, I remember talking to Segura once, before, like around the time when Tom was just like really blowing up, like maybe like after his second Netflix special, and he was saying he felt like part of the reason why it popped for him is because when that first Netflix special came out, he had a back catalog of podcasts with him and Christina for like years.
Yeah.
And he had 3 albums. So when people like looked him up, he had 3 albums and just endless podcasts for them to get into.
Right. Bert says the same thing. I think he was on episode 150 when he blew up.
Exactly. So it's like, oh, this guy's been around forever.
Yeah. But the content, I mean, the first season was so abysmal. It was like me talking to like camera guys on commercials and like, this lady's a script supervisor. Oh, I got an actor. Oh, and I would eventually get more and more comedians.
Yeah.
But I had some help booking this season. Monterey Martinez was my booker for a while.
Oh, nice.
Still kind of is, but you know, I'm backlogging stuff. And so we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. It's also just for me, I realize now with so much of like doing stuff like this or like, I do a vlog and it's not getting a ton of views, but I creatively enjoy doing it. And then that filters into everything else I do. Like, I feel like I started doing that and I was being more honest in that. And that allowed me to be more honest and vulnerable in my stand-up. Like, just like the same reason I go to therapy. It's like, oh, this is going to make the rest of my life better. I go for an hour and it's going to make I work on this vlog for to 12 hours and, you know, maybe 300, 400, 500 people watch it.
That's still good.
I mean, it's still good. Yeah. You know, but, it's then I cut it up into clips, and it's something I'm interested in, and I used to want to do filmmaking, and I still do want to do filmmaking, but you know, yeah, I'm still pitching movies and writing on shows occasionally. So
what's the film side of it that interests you the most? Do you want to direct? Do you want to be a writer? I mean, you are a writer, but
both. I'd like to direct at one point, but I think I would like to work on a TV show first where I would get the opportunity to like be around it a little bit more. But I feel like also like I tried to direct I tried to make like a little mumblecore movie when I was like a 26-year-old alcoholic, and it went terribly because I didn't know how to make a movie.
Sure.
So I like fell on my face, not thinking like, oh, you know, you're shooting. Yeah, we got the access to this restaurant, but there's no fucking extras in the restaurant.
Right.
You know, like I didn't know how to do sound mixing. I didn't know how, you know, I had a scene where I had one of the actors trying to fly a kite because that was like in the script, and he couldn't get the kite to fly, and just had like a full-blown meltdown, not realizing what I should have just done is had someone stand on a ladder and hold the string so it seemed like he was flying a kite.
Yeah.
You know, like just common sense shit. Like at that point I dropped out of film school, and I was just like, oh, I wrote a movie, and then I was like, I'm going to try to make it. Because a director on a TV show I worked on wanted to make it as their second film, but then that kind of fell apart. Her like management talked her out of it because she was making like good television directing money.
Right. And they wanted their 10%.
Yeah, 100%. And also like it was hard. It's hard enough to be a female director now. Imagine being a female director back in like the early 2000s, and she was like banging out TV episodes.
Yeah.
For like different things. She's a killer, and still is. But I was also so young that I didn't know that like them being like, yeah, we're not going to make this movie. The movie wasn't just over. You just had that happens all the time.
It's just a one no in a string of no's.
That a billion no's. Yeah. And so, so I still would like to direct at some point. And I have a couple things like in the pipeline that I hope one day could be it. Like one of my TV shows ideas. But yeah, I'm hoping the thing happens that somebody buys a movie, they make it, I get to be on set, get to learn a bunch.
They get to pay you to rewrite it.
Yep. And then I get to go, after that, I'll go make my like small indie movie.
Yeah. One for you, one for the studio kind of thing.
One to pay off my credit card debt. And then one that I can make less money on, and it's cool.
The thing is, I've been an assistant director for almost 20 years. Yeah. And mainly commercials. I got out of television and movies because it's just a brutal grind and you never sleep. Yeah. But I watched like commercial director after commercial director get their first film, and they're like, oh, I'm in it now. But the the DGA, like minimum, even for your first studio feature, is $250,000. That sounds like a lot of money.
You cut it in half, it's $125, and your agents are taking 10%, and your manager's taking 10%.
And you work on it for 2 years.
And that's before your taxes come out.
Correct.
So they're getting full $250, half of that. Then you're getting still hit with the tax. So really, when it all comes down to it, of $250, you're probably walking away with, if you're lucky, $90,000.
If you're
and
very
that's
lucky,
split between you 2 years, so that's $45,000 a year. And if you got a wife, a house, and a kid, that's jack shit.
Yeah. So you better have saved your commercial directing fee, which is usually $30,000 to $40,000 a day. So you need to stack that up. I was listening to Zack Snyder on Rogan. Yeah. And I hate his filmmaking, but like after listening to him talk and like justifying some of his choices, he directed commercials for 10 years, and I was like, oh, I can now see where he's coming from and some of the choices that he made in his films. Because he just wants to get it done. You know, in a commercial, you got a day to shoot 30 seconds or whatever.
Also, Ridley Scott and Tony Scott both came from commercial directing.
I worked for their production company for a while. Yeah,
they had a commercial side for 2 decades before they started making movies. Also, Robert Altman started out in commercials.
There's such a stigma, too, once you get to like directing TV and movies, that it's like, oh, I would never do a commercial.
It's like Quentin Tarantino and Spike Lee and Wes Anderson
all
do
of
commercials.
Dude, Wes Anderson commercials are nuts. Just a shot of a lamp on a street corner and then like changes, and it's like, it's like, well, Wes Anderson film. Like, I love commercials. I think if you get to tell a story in 30 seconds creatively with the crew, like, I think it's amazing. It's like rinse and repeat.
I grew up in sketch comedy. I think they can be really cool. I like a short film. Yeah.
Short films are great, especially I love period pieces where it's like, I mean, short films almost never have the money to get the cars and the wardrobe and all that stuff. So I would go back. I'd pull myself out of retirement to do a short film or a sketch show where
Yeah.
it's just something different every day. But like, if I'm doing a film, I'm going to sit in the chair because I just can't have one more kid whose uncle is the owner of the studio be like, I think we should do everything in brown. It's like, okay, kid, sit down. We'll make you a film.
Yeah.
And then on TV, it's a little worse because you get a different director every week or two.
Yeah. Usually most shows every 2 weeks, you got a different director.
Yeah.
And they're block shooting 2 episodes at once that they're shooting over the course of 2 weeks.
My last TV show, both directors were actors, and they hated each other. So they would put stuff in. They would rewrite the script. Like the first of the pilot, the director put a fence around the front yard. Well, the rest of the season, the main characters talk in the yard. So now they're talking over a fence. So then the second director was like, now my character has to do all his footwork to get around the fence. So then she put in like this other thing to fuck that, and it was just a constant like, who's fucking who every week. I'm like, I'm not.
This show is not going to last.
It didn't.
Yeah.
I don't think it even made it.
Yeah, of course not.
Yeah. My last film got bought. We made it on spec, and then
Damn, dude. Congrats.
well, somebody paid for it. Like somebody wrote a check for $500,000, but it was like found footage, and Annapurna bought it.
Cool.
And the final cut came out to 69 minutes, and it has to be 72 to run in theaters. So it's sitting on a shelf somewhere.
Oh, damn.
I have like 7 points on that movie.
And you can't go back and write 2 more minutes and add it in?
I'm not paying for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that whole cast has moved on now. They all went to do shit. The director's done well after that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I know a guy who's a stand-up who produces Lifetime movies and like makes a nice grip. He does like 1 or 2 a year. He kind of knows the format. He bangs them out, writes them in a month.
Yeah.
Fucking
They got a formula over there.
Yeah, he makes one of the movies and then he finds like a director he likes and like really does it. And he's a smart dude and he's really funny. And he's just like, he doesn't live in LA. He was like lived here when he was younger, had a lot of heat, had a couple movies almost go, sold some stuff.
Yeah.
And he like lives in Philly with his wife and just has a normal ass life and raises his kids. And he like does stand up.
That's my dream.
Yeah.
I want to get out of here so bad.
Yeah.
I want to buy a farm. I want to fly in and do 4 episodes in 1 week.
Yeah.
Maybe shoot something while I'm here. Hit the Comedy Store. I'm fucking out.
Yeah.
Yeah, live on a farm.
Oh, that sounds like a nightmare to me.
Oh, yeah?
Living on a farm?
Oh, man.
Yeah. Nope. Horrible.
Growing all your food?
No, I grew up in New York City.
Yeah?
Even suburbs give me the ick.
Oh, okay.
Like,
You're a city guy.
Oh, yeah. If like even the beach, I'm like, okay, I could do this for like 2 days. But if I'm doing like my girlfriend, she loves the beach. She would like to be in the middle of nowhere, no one else around on an island. And I could do that for like 2 days. So like our compromise now is like beach, but beach in Europe.
Yeah, okay.
You know, where
that
it's
makes
like
sense.
we can spend the day in the beach and then at night I get to go sip espresso on a sidewalk cafe and she gets to be like, why are you wearing that many dumb scarves?
Yeah. All right, so you're a caffeine at night kind of guy.
I caffeine all the time.
Yeah?
Yeah, it doesn't keep me up.
Is that coffee right there?
No, this is agua. This is all water, but I crushed a coffee right before coming here, my second of the day.
I had a massive coffee right before you got here, and I'm fucking fully caffeinated.
Nice, yeah. I'm feeling it right now myself as well.
So, what can you talk about what you've written on, or is that?
No, when my 2 probably biggest things that people would know is one, I wrote a Netflix show called Magic for Humans.
Oh yeah,
for 2 seasons with Justin Willman. Justin's got a new show about to come out on Netflix called The Magic Prank Show.
Yeah, I was gonna say is it also magic? But.
Yeah, it's also magic. So watch that. I didn't write on that one, but I'm sure it was great. I just wasn't around.
Do you have a magical background?
I have zero magical background. This is how it always works. I opened randomly. I was in Nashville. I was there with Joel McHale, opening for Joel McHale. Joel had to like fly out, could only do Thursday, Friday. And I worked Zanies forever. And they were like, you want to just stick around and open for Justin? I was like, sure. Never met the dude before, opened for him. We got along really well. And I got to watch his act. And I really liked his act. It's really cool. He's funny. The magic's cool. And then the packet came across my like email. And I was like, oh, I'll do this. I'll write a packet for this. And I wrote it in like an afternoon. It's the only packet I've ever got hired on. I like wrote it in an afternoon in like 2-3 hours. And I just thought about stuff that I was like, what else would be cool in his act?
Right.
And then they liked it, and we ended up using 4 out of 5 of the things from my packet in the show.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I've never thought about that. What if something that you wrote in your packet shows up on the show? Is that like just part of the gig?
Yeah. Yeah. So it was cool. It was nice. Yeah. And it was a really fun room. And that's where I worked with like Sarah Squirm and some other really cool people. And yeah, it was nice. So I worked on that but classic like Netflix, like mini room. They broke it up into 2 seasons when they said they were paying us for 1, you know, that kind of like shady stuff.
They've been fucking writers for so long.
It's crazy. Yeah. That's why when people were like, I'm not WGA, and like that job should have made me WGA.
Yeah.
And then I also wrote for Will Smith for like 9 months, which I was working on. I worked on a couple different projects when I was there, but mostly when he got on social media. Remember that a couple of years ago? He jumped on like Instagram and YouTube and was like jumping out of helicopters and doing stuff with like AI robots and like all that stuff. I worked on that. So I was like part of the team. My buddy who I used to do like open mics with, his name's Lucas, became like Will's head of content.
Wow.
And like YouTube, like give him a bunch of money to like start a YouTube channel and run the lifestyle stuff. And I was brought in and then brought in a bunch of writers, and then I was kind of running the writers room there for like for a little while, and then like worked on some other small little projects while I was in there. And then
that's crazy to think that you could be so big that a social media platform would just give you money to make
seed
content.
money. Yeah. Because for them it's advertising, you know what I mean? For them it's just good news articles, like Will Smith's on YouTube, Will Smith's on Instagram.
Yeah.
So for them, it makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, and he's like The Rock. The minute he signs up for an account, it's going to be 50 million. And
yes.
People are going to watch everything.
Yeah,
push it to the front.
It was pretty crazy to get to do it for a little while. But I also went in thinking it was going to be more like an SNL on Will's YouTube, like a sketch a week, 2 sketches a week.
Yeah. And
so that's kind of what I went in thinking it was. And then it kind of evolved into something else because he's the busiest dude on earth. And this is also pre-Slap. So, yeah. Just
Slap was 2 years ago?
I think it's 2 years ago now. So, and this was back in like 2018, I think. I worked there.
Yeah.
So yeah,
he was just pumping it out then. Too.
Yeah, crazy. And it really worked for him. Like it made him super relevant again. Like Bad Boys went #1, Aladdin went #1. He had like 1 or 2 other movies then that also went #1. So he was like, and it was wild. And he was a nice guy to work for, you know. He did like, he dropped a pair of Jordans on his birthday for his 50th birthday, and he like gave all the writers a free pair.
Oh, that's
shit like
nice.
that. It was cool. Yeah.
He gave Bert his start too.
Yeah, I know.
Or he gave him a big development deal. I don't know what happened to it, but
yeah,
they were going to make the Van Wilder of Bert's life.
Yeah, and instead National Lampoon's made it.
Yeah, and cut Bert out of it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I believe that or not. I don't know Bert very well, but I shouldn't talk about that, things I don't know about.
Yeah.
Seems like if they make a movie about your life.
I mean, well, to be fair, look at Ryan Reynolds and look at Bert.
Yeah.
You know, Bert's not a bad looking dude, but if you're going to cast it's Hollywood.
Right.
Bert's not famous. Ryan Reynolds was like on 2 Girls, a Guy in a Pizza Shop. Like you're going to you want a sure thing.
Funny story about 2 Guys and a Girl. I was working on the Deadpool 2 promos. And Ryan walks on the stage and I'm like, welcome home. He goes, what are you talking about? I'm like, this is the 2 Guys stage, 2 Guys and a Girl stage. He goes, what? He's like, how do you know that? I'm like, you don't know that on every stage in Hollywood, there's a plaque by the door. It says what's been filmed on the stage. He goes, no, show me. So I walk him outside in his little Deadpool outfit and I'm like, that's the plaque right there. He's like, holy shit, this is the stage. I remember now. We're on the Fox lot.
Oh, that's so cool.
So we shoot a bunch of interviews that day, and then his wife comes with the kids to pick him up, and he gets on social media, and he's like, I'm back at the and like takes full credit for remembering the stage that he was on. I was like, all right, man, that's cool. But he gave me a bottle of Aviation. So
oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I think he signed like 400 of them that day. But
that's cool. He seems like a really nice guy. I like that Welcome to Wrexham show.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet.
It's so worth watching. If you have any interest in soccer at all, it will make you a fan of the sport.
I've been watching various Netflix Premier League documentaries.
Nice. There's a great one on Amazon called Tough as They Come, or Tough as something tough. That's great.
There's the one, I don't know if it's Netflix or not, but it's We Are something.
We Are Wrexham
Hold on. That's the one you just said.
Oh, Welcome to Wrexham is that. We Are.
I forget. It's the name of the town, and they just got relegated down from Premier League.
Yeah.
It's the struggle of them trying to get back
It's
into
probably maybe Leeds.
Maybe.
Leeds got sent down last season.
This is on their 4th season now.
Sheffield. Sheffield's back
People
up.
at home are screaming. They're like, it's the fucking bro.
Yeah.
It's red and white.
That could be Sheffield United, who's back up right now.
Yeah.
But the Swords, are they called the Swords? Do people call them that? Because they got relegated. They were going to get relegated again this season, but they were the first club in Premier League. They were like the original football club.
And now they're not in.
And they their whole career has been bouncing back and forth. Yeah.
It's so good that I get some of the scenes mixed up with Ted Lasso.
Oh, really?
It's that size club.
Yeah.
And the guys are moving around, and they brought in a mega guy like Ted Lasso did at the end to like save the team. And it's just like I always get scenes from A Clockwork Orange and Trainspotting mixed in because I watch them so close together. So now like Ted Lasso and this show are like
intertwined.
Yeah.
I'm a big football fan, man. I love soccer. It's like my favorite.
What's your team?
I'm an Arsenal supporter.
Okay.
So right now we're having a very good season. We're in first place.
Nice.
And I say we like I've done anything other than jump up and scream a lot when they score goals.
How many games have you been to?
In my life, I've been to 2 Arsenal games.
Okay.
So I got to go to this year I got to go to a Champions League game versus PSV where they beat them 4-0. And I got to see them play here in America at SoFi Stadium versus Barcelona last summer, which was really cool. And we beat them. And I was there with a bunch of other buddies, so that was pretty fun.
Do you go to any LA games?
Yeah, I've been to LAFC before. Yeah.
Same thing, or like is it
I'm an LAF. No. LAFC is known for having one of the best like supporters and atmospheres in MLS, and it's true. It's dope. It's great. Like if you're gonna go to a soccer game in America, LAFC is like a sick place to go see a game. But if you're gonna like, it doesn't compare to like seeing a game at the Emirates or like I got to see Roma play Inter Milan at Olimpico in Rome.
That's nuts.
And the winner got to go to Champions League and the other one didn't. You know what I mean? Like high stress game, and Roma got like beat, and the mood was not right.
Are you into the controversy around like the FIFA guy, the head of the FIFA organization, and all the crime?
Oh no, they're all criminals. I don't pay attention to any of that stuff.
So is the World Cup like a big deal?
I love the World Cup. So the way I got into it, I always watched World Cup because I like always had like international friends, and so I worked in hostels. I backpacked with bartending money when I was like 20, and so I would always watch World Cup whenever it would roll around. Just fun to do. And then after the last World Cup, I seriously started getting into it, and then I started touring in Europe more, and then I just had like the time. So after the last World Cup, I just started watching English Premier League, and my best friend's like a diehard Arsenal fan and has been forever. And he's the host of the CBS morning soccer show, Morning Footy.
Wow.
So yeah, so he
has no idea what he's talking about.
Yeah. So he's the one who like just kind of got me into that. And my friend Tomek, who's an English actor, he's a big Bournemouth fan, and he just taught me the rest of the stuff when we were together in England hanging out, and like I just kind of learned. And then now it's like, also my therapist told me that like dudes who don't have a hobby at 40 get real fucking squirrely.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
You need something in your life that's not your career.
Yeah.
So I just at 40, yeah, I know.
I'm like, God damn it, I'm 44.
I know.
Yeah.
And so she might have said by 45. So you got a year.
Okay, cool.
But so I've never been a sports guy my whole life, and then just got into football, soccer in the past 2 years, and it's been so much fun.
It was one of the 2 sports I played in high school.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So my parents put me in bowling. I became very good at that. I almost became a pro.
Holy shit.
And yeah. I mean, what are you going to do with being a pro bowler?
Be rich and have a nice beer belly?
Beer belly, yeah. But then I played soccer. I made varsity as a freshman, which is only one of 3 guys at the time back in the 90s to do that. But then academically, it didn't stack up. So I got dropped from the team. But I always thought like, I'm going to go back and one day I'm going to learn enough about Europe to be like a Premier League fan. So I think that's why I'm gravitating.
Yeah, it's so fun. I love the Premier League. And the thing about watching football is that like once you start watching it, then like the really cool thing, the English Premier League at the bottom of every season, they kick the bottom 3 teams out of the league. They're just fucking relegated. They're
most
gone.
Exciting thing about
it's the coolest
There's
thing.
stakes involved.
The whole season. And the top, you want your team to win the league, but also the top 4 teams get to go to the championship league, which is the best teams from all of Europe play each other in a knockout playoff series kind of thing to see who's the best team in Europe. So then you start watching that, and then you start learning who all these European teams are. And the 5th team in the English Premier League gets sent to the Europa League, which is like the playoff system for the teams just below Champions League. So you have all of those going on. Then, because you're watching Premier League, you start to be like, well, who are the American players that I should be rooting for? Then you start watching the national team, who we just won CONCACAF against Mexico yesterday. And then you're like, okay, I like these American players. So where is Christian Pulisic playing? He's playing on AC Milan. So now you're watching Serie A games, and you start watching Italy. And Weston McKennie plays for Juventus, and now you're watching Juventus games. And then,
And all of a sudden you're bankrupt because you bought too many jerseys.
Oh, dude, you don't even. Yeah, it's crazy. But that's also fun because then when I'm touring in Europe doing stand up, I'll like go buy vintage soccer kits because they're just like stylish. And so I'm wearing like an old Porto kit that just looks cool, or an AC Milan kit.
Yeah.
And I find it more interesting that when you see someone wearing a soccer jersey, or like wearing in America, this is more of an American thing than a European thing. If you see somebody here in America wearing any Premier League jersey, you can talk to them, and you're just excited to see another person wearing like a kit that you can be like, let's talk about, like.
Right.
And because I got into it at 38 and didn't grow up in like England, like hating people who support other clubs, I can literally talk to anybody about any team because I just like the game. And so if there's a player on a team who I love, like say Ivan Toney, who plays for Brentford, I can talk to any Brentford fan about how great I think Ivan Toney is, because I'm not like, I think everybody at Tottenham should die. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Is it more intense, like team to team for? This is going to get confusing because I'm about to reference American football.
Yeah.
So soccer, let's just call it for American's sake.
Yeah, soccer.
Soccer in the UK, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of dynamics. So American football, when you see someone that's wearing a jersey that you don't like, mainly the Cowboys.
Oh, I was going to say Eagles fans, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean everybody hates Eagles fans.
Yeah.
Sorry, Joe, but
it's all right. I got friends who like them too.
Yeah. But they like to talk shit. Like you see somebody in a team's jersey that you don't like, and you're like, oh, you must be a piece of shit because I hate your team.
Yeah, I mean, I lived in Wrigleyville for a while, and I know that deep down most Cubs fans are trash. You know what I mean? Like they try to act like they're better than White Sox fans.
Right.
But I've had somebody in a Cubs jersey piss on my front lawn.
Right.
You know?
I mean, anybody that's really from Chicago is a White Sox fan.
I mean, north side. It's north side, south side.
Yeah.
That's literally the divide.
Right.
And then, it's also funny because I'm a Mets fan, but I'm only a Mets fan because I'm not really a Yankees fan. Right. You know what I mean?
By default.
Kind of. Like, my mom's side of the family were Mets fans. My dad never took me to a Yankees game growing up. My dad's a Yankees fan. And the Mets suck, so we got free tickets as a kid. So I just grew up a Mets fan.
Yeah.
And I already always kind of thought of myself as an outsider. So the Mets are kind of the more outsider teams. So now anytime I see someone wearing a Yankees hat, who I think is actually a Yankees fan, not just visited New York, when I see him, I go, let's go Mets, and just keep walking.
Right.
Just as like a little fun, like, fuck you.
That's fun.
Yeah.
It's not aggressive. You're not starting any shit.
No.
Yeah.
And if somebody, I once had a crazy Dodgers fan. I was wearing my 1986 Mets championship, like bomber jacket. And I had a crazy Dodgers fan, like Cholo dude, just be like, fuck the Mets. And I was like, okay, cool. And I just started laughing and just kept walking, and he had no clue what to do with that.
Yeah.
Because I've never given a shit. For me, it's just like hometown fashion.
Right. It's just something to wear to support the locals. Yeah. I'm from North Carolina, or I grew up in North Carolina, but I was actually born in New York. But the Hurricanes, the hockey team, came and played the Kings. And me and my buddy wore Hurricanes jerseys. Very red, very Hurricanes jerseys.
Yeah.
So it's a sea of black and white, and then of course on the jumbotron it's just these two guys in red.
Everyone starts booing.
Yeah. And then when we're walking out, everybody's like, "Fuck you, bro! Fuck you!" And I'm like,
hockey fans can be weirdly aggressive.
Yeah, I was about to take my jersey off, man. I was like, we're not going to make it to the car.
And like in England, I've done the thing where I've not worn a kit, like a jersey, because of the fact, like around town, I wouldn't wear one.
Yeah.
Like I'd wear one to the game, but I wouldn't I wouldn't walk into a bar in England wearing a soccer kit.
Right, 'cause
you never know what kind of psychopath you're going to walk into.
Yeah. They're crazy.
Because they take it real crazy. And I feel like some hockey fans are that way too.
They are. Plus, hockey inherently has a lot of fighting in it.
Yeah, it's part of the...
Yeah. It's like running into an MMA fan, and they're like, come on, let's do MMA right now. And you're like, nah, I'm good. Just leave it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you been on Ian Edwards' podcast?
No, but his co-host is a really good friend of mine.
Yeah. Sounds like you'd be a good fit.
Yeah. I would do that podcast. I love those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. I chill with Lee Hudson, who's the co-host in England. We just hung out doing spots like a couple weeks ago at Top Secret and got lunch, and we try to catch a game when I'm in England and stuff like that.
So do you do shifting? Sorry, I'm a little caffeinated.
No.
Do you do Edinburgh a lot, or is that?
I've never done Edinburgh. This year was going to be my first Edinburgh, but I can't not make money anymore. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And
the old working for free thing.
Yeah, I can't. And the way the system's set up is it's come to my attention through talking to a lot of friends of like, it's pretty crooked. Like all the producers and venue owners walk away with all the money and all the comics leave owing £8,000 for like their promotion and stuff like that. So this year, what I'm kind of doing is my own Edinburgh, which instead of going to Edinburgh, I'm going to Paris for the Olympics. And there's going to be 10 million tourists there. And I'm just putting up my own show for the month in Paris.
That's
amazing. I rented a 50-seat theater. I'm going to run a little pop-up comedy club, and I'm going to run my hour I'm going to do shows five nights a week. And just...
That's such a good idea.
Yeah, I go to Paris every year for a month to do stand-up anyway.
Yeah.
Because I really like France, and Paris has an amazing English-speaking stand-up scene. But for the run of the Olympics, I'm just going to be there. I got a 3-bedroom apartment for the month that I got through a thing called Home Exchange that I use a lot. And my parents are going to come over for like a week plus, and my sister's coming with them, and my girlfriend's going to come over for like a week and a half, and then after that, we're going to bounce and do a week vacation in Italy.
And all paid for by selling out 50 tickets a night.
50 tickets a night, which should be pretty doable.
I mean, if there's 10 million people in town.
Yeah, and people need English things to do. Yeah. So I'm hoping. And then I'm hoping on Friday and Saturday to be able to do 2 shows a night.
Yeah.
And then I'll have Tuesdays and Thursdays off, I think, is what I'm doing.
That is super smart.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing I feel like is lacking from a lot of the conversations that I have with comedians is like looking at business as a comedy, looking at comedy as a business.
It is.
How can I make money through my craft? And a lot of people are just like, I'm waiting for an opportunity to be handed to me.
I'm 40, dude.
Yeah.
That ship has sailed. Over the past, I remember like being 35 and going, if I don't get on TV by the time I'm 40, I'm going to be fucked. And I fired my managers at the time. And then I worked my ass off myself. And then I got myself 2 TV credits in a short amount of time. You know, I got to do that Bill Burr's The Ringers, which was sick. And I got to do the Late Late Show with James Corden. And they helped a little bit. And then the pandemic came, and I realized... And when we came back from the pandemic, it didn't matter anymore. Television doesn't matter. It's all about how many followers you have. And the comedy clubs want you to show up already famous and be able to four-wall a room and just fill it up with your fans.
That's it.
99.9% of comedy clubs. There are still the 1% that still are trying to build an audience through their cultivating. But for the most part, they want you to show up famous. And then once you can start bringing people, you realize once you do the math, you're like, I have a friend who almost sold out a whole 5 nights at a club and walked away with like $5,000. And you do that math.
That's not right.
Exactly.
That's bad management.
Yes.
On both ends.
Yeah. And so what I'm in the process of doing now, like how I'm doing in Paris, I'm just doing my own pop-up shows now. So I just did one in Costa Mesa last weekend. I did one in Utah last month, and I sold 57 tickets in Utah. And I made as much as I would have made to go do a full weekend at a comedy club.
Wow.
For one show.
Yeah.
And the people were there, and we had a great time. The show was cool. Now I have all their email addresses. When I go back to Utah, I can hit them up. You know what I mean? It's not like I don't need a club. And, you know, it was way more work, but I think if I just do it this way for the next 5 years, it'll be way more worth it.
Yeah. It's indie band style.
100%. I'm literally going the Fugazi DIY kind of route. And we don't really need labels anymore. Everyone puts their specials up on YouTube. Like my special didn't crush on YouTube, but it got 300,000 views between the two spots it's on.
That's
and
a great number.
Yeah. And when I put it out, I had 9,000 Instagram followers, and it's been 2 years, and now I'm at 24. You know, it's just building slowly. And I paid for my special. It was supposed to go on one of the places owned by a big media company, and that media company had like layoffs and mergers, and I got left holding the bag on it. So now I'm just doing this, like I'm doing it all myself route to like pay off my special. I'm about to like sell half of the shit I own just to get out of debt and pay for the next special.
Yeah. Have you put the audio out as an album?
The audio's out with 800 Pound Gorilla. And so
I have mixed feelings about those guys.
yeah, I'm gonna see how
We'll talk about it later.
Yeah, let's talk about it later.
Yeah.
I like them, but there's been some, you know, they had that big like lawsuit thing.
The statement that I'm about to make does not reference 800 Pound Gorilla.
Okay.
There is another company
Yeah.
that makes specials for people.
Yeah.
And they'll go, okay, come to our small, very religious town.
Oh, drive. Yeah.
Yeah. And we'll give you this much money to come. And then we're going to shoot 11 of them in one day.
Yeah.
And you owe us $11,000 at the end of it.
What?
Yeah.
Dry bar?
I mean, I'll cut that out, but yeah, or I'll bleep it. But yeah, we just got home from Utah.
Oh, that's funny. I have friends who've done specials with them and haven't been charged anything.
And
Who've
that's the
made a
thing.
lot of money.
Yeah.
Like one of my friends is like one of the biggest stars on their platform.
Oh,
And
the tattoo guy?
Yeah, and it changed
I
his...
just met him.
Yeah, he's the best. I love Shane. And it changed his whole life.
That's how I found out about Shane.
Yeah. Exactly. And Shane hosted for me at Wise Guys.
Yeah. Which I think is one of the best chains of clubs.
Hands down, if you can get Keith to email you back. But that's what I'm talking about. Like, I nearly sold out an off night at Wise Guys. I haven't been able to come back to do a headline, and that was like 10 years ago. Sold out a weekend at Zany's in Chicago. I love them, but I can't get back in for a weekend. So it's like, because I don't have enough followers, or I'm just not cool enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't have reps pushing me. So it's like, fuck it, I'm just going to do this shit myself. Like, you can put out specials on YouTube and then go on, get lucky and go on Bert or Joe or do 100 of these and just pick up person by person and hope it builds.
The number one reason why I continue to do this show is the analytics that I get.
Yeah.
So the audio numbers tells me like this city has this many people listening to it every single week. And I'm using that data to go, tour time, I'm going to that city first.
100%.
So I'm not moving the needle on big numbers, and my social media is not blowing up.
But you don't need big numbers anymore. You don't. You know what I mean? Like, if you can sell 100 tickets in any city in America, that's $3,000, more or less.
Yeah.
You know?
That's not bad.
No, for one night,
Yeah.
78 cities a year, you're doing okay.
There's a book called 1,000 True Fans.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Yeah, I've never read it, but I've talked to people like I've read it
Yeah.
a million times because the math works out. If they buy a poster, a piece of merch, and a ticket and your album,
You
once
need
a
more
year,
than 1,000. I don't think that number is true anymore.
It's not. I think it's just the metric of
The
using
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then in units of 1,000. So let's say you had 2,000 true fans that all saw you once, bought a poster and your album every year.
If you had 2,000 true fans paying for a Patreon, $5 a month, you'd live
doing fine.
You'd do an okay life. You're making what a teacher makes.
Yeah. Yeah, 100 grand,
Yeah,
120 grand.
something like that.
Teachers make less than that.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only problem is your travel comes out of that 120, but you're still making money off the shows.
Yeah, but if you're doing a Patreon, it's for a podcast,
Yeah.
you know, or something like that, some
Sure.
piece of content that they're paying you for.
Yeah. I've heard a lot of people, I'd love to see what you think about this. A lot of people are complaining that the algorithms are gatekeeping now. And like the number of people that used to watch their shit is so much lower. Have you seen a ding in your number of like
Yeah,
people?
two years ago when my special came out, every clip I put out for my special used to get like 200,000 views, and it comes in waves. I've had one clip hit 1 million, one 3.6, but like for the most part, on like my day-to-day average is like low, and I don't know if it's because I'm doing something wrong or there are just way more people creating content on the platforms. Like I've heard a number that now more people on TikTok are creators than consumers.
That I would believe that.
Yeah. So it's like, who's watching?
Right.
You
We
know?
can't all be creators.
No.
Like there's too much. I think
And also, most people don't have anything to say.
no.
Most people want to be Most people just want to be admired versus like having something to say. Like to me, I don't care. I don't ever want to really be famous. I just want to be a stand-up comedian.
Yeah.
And make enough money to pay my bills. You know, like, and you have to have something to say to get successful.
Yeah.
Like people aren't buying in just for like.
Well, it'll help you super niche down. Like if you have a very strong point of view, like, I don't want to say his name because it'll demonetize it, but the very masculine gentleman that likes to say man stuff all the time. The guy that drives Ferraris and got arrested for stuff in Europe, and we won't say his name.
Oh, the fucking sex trafficker dude? Yeah.
Like he found his audience very quickly because he spoke directly to a bunch of simps.
Idiots. Yeah.
So if you have a very strong left or right far right opinion,
which is, I think those people are trash because they're like selling out their humanity for dollar signs.
Right.
Like they were like half of the people who run podcasts now that are popular are just slowly sliding this country into fascism because they think it's like funny jokes. It's like, hey asshole, you're fucking giving people on the right a fucking mouthpiece to just slowly try to bring this country back to fascism. Like you're fucking part of like. You might not think it, but you're part of the reason why abortion's getting rolled back. It's because of the fact that people are like, you're helping fucking like small fucking ego white dudes in the South be like, no, not me. You know, but
yeah, but like, we all have info bubbles, right? Like if you're into bowling, you're going to listen to a bowling podcast.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like not to reference bowling twice in one podcast.
I listen to movie and soccer podcasts.
Yeah. So that's where your little bubble's going to be, right? And then if those people start moving, you're going to kind of go with them a little bit.
Yeah. You're going to listen to Ben Shapiro too.
Yeah. If you like soccer, you like Ben Shapiro? I don't
know. No.
Wouldn't that be funny if Ben Shapiro was like the #1 soccer podcast?
Fucking Piers Morgan's an Arsenal fan and it sucks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You got that douche rooting for your team and putting out content. You're just like, why this motherfucker?
Yeah. I think during Pandy, it was like no one had anything to do, so they all thought they were going to become influencers.
Yeah, and it worked for some people.
Yeah. And
a bunch of people popped. There were a bunch of comics who weren't good stand-ups, but were good at doing sketch comedy by themselves in their house and are now famous.
Yeah.
And I'm not shitting on any one particular person, but like that's great. Good for them.
Yeah.
And some of those people went off and got good at stand-up because they can get a lot of stage time because of the fact that they had a following and people wanted to see them. I just don't have it in me to be like, pretend I'm a mom in a wig.
Yeah.
I'm here to tell jokes.
Yeah. There was a show, I don't know, 2-3 weeks ago, and who knows when this is going to come out. Maybe, so let's say 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And it was an SNL, like all former SNL cast members.
Yeah.
Except for some reason, Pete Holmes was on it. But at the end,
I hung out with him in an SNL green room once, or the writer's room. If that makes you feel any better.
It does.
Yeah.
But Dave Attell popped in to close it out.
Oh, nice. Former SNL writer, Dave Attell.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But you know, Dave's a legend.
Yeah.
And so I keep my stuff at the Improv upstairs in the green room.
Yeah.
It's the safest place.
Yeah.
So I go up there, and the 9:30 comics are loading into the green room. There's always a little overlap.
Yeah.
And Dave Attell is on stage, and they're not watching him.
That blows my mind.
So I looked at the list, didn't recognize a single fucking name. And if I don't know your name, then I don't know. I don't want to brag, but like I think I know. I keep my finger on the pulse of comedy, like pretty deep. So then I just looked up one of the kids, and it was like fucking 4 million TikTok followers, and I was like, oh, it's an Instagram, it's a influencer show, and they're just gonna get up there and be like characters and stuff for an hour, and as the first show is loading out, they're pulling the curtain in the main room.
Oh, because they didn't sell any tickets.
They didn't sell it, but like my first giveaway that these guys aren't comics was that they're not watching like
Dave Attell, who's the greatest.
Savior. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very lucky because when I was coming up in New York, Big Jay Okerson was crazy nice to me, and he used to let me. I would do check and guest spots at Stand Up New York, and then after my check and guest spots, I get in Jay's car with him, and we drive back and forth between. He would close the show at Stand Up New York, and then I drive over to the comic strip with him and watch him close at the comic strip, and then we go get bagels at H&H Bagels, and then drive back to Stand Up New York, and he would ping pong back and forth, do 6 sets a night, and then go down to the cellar.
Yeah.
And close out at the cellar, and Attell would always go before him. So I'd watch Jay do 7 sets in a night and Attell do one at the cellar at like 2 a.m. And I did that almost every weekend for like a year.
Yeah.
And watching Attell do stand up is like the greatest thing in the world. It's so fun. And if you're a comedian, you're just like, How does he think of this stuff?
Right.
I remember my favorite David Tell joke of all time is I heard him say, if you come on a Confederate flag and bury it, a Cracker Barrel will grow. And you're just like, what the fuck?
do you think
And
of
I've
that
never
stuff?
heard him tell that joke again. I heard it one time, and I haven't heard it since.
I've heard guys, certain guys are on his list where he'll just call you at 4 a.m. and be like, hey, have you ever heard this before?
One of his proteges coming up was Kurt Metzger.
Yeah, he's been on the show.
I love Metzger.
Yeah.
Really nice guy. And, and one time I did a joke and Kurt was on a bar show I ran in New York City. And like 2 weeks later, I got a call from Kurt being like, hey, man, so I heard you do this joke and I got this joke that I think might be similar and I'm about to do it on my special. So I just want to clear it with you, make sure, see what you think. If it's too close, I won't do it. And then it wasn't even close. I was like, nah, I think those are totally different. I don't think anyone's. He was like, all right, I just want to make sure I didn't want you.
That's
but
nice.
yeah, class act. They came from that group of guys where it was like you didn't want to step on anybody's toes.
Yeah. Now it seems like there's a group of guys coming up that are like, fuck you.
Yeah.
Whoever puts it on a special first.
Or puts it on Instagram first.
Oh, that's true too.
Yeah.
I don't find the same, like if I have a joke and I put it on Instagram, I don't feel like I'm burning it. Like I feel like that's going to go to 5 people. And if I put it on a special later, it'll go to another 5 people.
Even if a joke of mine does well on the internet, like my best joke, I'm still going to put that joke on my next special. Mm-hmm. And my most popular joke ever to go on the internet has like I put it up twice. Once it got 1 million, once it got 3.6. Of that's where half of my Instagram fans came from. Still not a lot of people.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's like you're hoping that it gets out. Like for the most part, most of these jokes, nobody sees.
Yeah, they're not going to go
And
through
if
your
your
back
fan base sees it, like 10% of your fan base sees it. Because Instagram, like you were kind of asking earlier, they don't show all your stuff to everybody.
Yeah.
They only show it to a small group of your following.
Yeah, and if those people like it and share it, then they'll show it to the rest of your following. And if those people like it
and sometimes they don't even show it to the rest of your following. Yeah. If enough of your fans like it, then they'll show it wide to people who aren't your fans.
Yeah, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like people liked and followed you for a reason.
Yes.
And once they got out of the linear format where it's like whatever was posted, I'm going to scroll until I see the last thing I saw yesterday. Like now that it's out of order, you can see something from 2 days ago.
3 days ago.
I hate it. I absolutely hate it.
Yeah, pros and cons for me because of the fact that means like if your joke doesn't pop instantly, it's not dead. You still have like 2 or 3 days for people to see it, you know?
Yeah. I have had stuff on YouTube that didn't pop right away that like hit the shelf a couple days later. But I think the platform that I'm the best on is YouTube. That's the one I understand the most.
I'm trying to figure it out now, and it's been like hit and miss.
Yeah.
Because sometimes like I'll like not the last 2, but the vlog before that, like 3 ago, I was like, oh, this is my best one. Mm-hmm. Like I really like did the format that I like think works best for YouTube with like me telling the story I'm showing the clips from the story and setting up what happens and there's an arc. Are we going to do this, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And that one ate it. And I'm like, this is the best one I've made. And then the third one I made, people really liked the second one, but I had to take it down. The third one I made was just like a 45-minute video on like how I did late night and how to do late night TV. And I'm like, well, this will be helpful for someone. And that one's doing fine. But I'm like, but that one is 45 minutes long. It took me like 2 days to make. Yeah. And I like cutting clips of me talking about different stand-ups who helped me along the way. Mm-hmm. And I'm just hoping down the line somebody is like, oh, I want to watch this.
Yeah, that's evergreen. Yeah. Plus it's 45 minutes, so it's probably got 3 ad breaks in it. So you're making money off of it.
If once I get to the 1,000 subs and the watch hours.
Oh yeah, they dropped it to 500 subs now.
I have that.
Yeah.
But I still am not up on my watch hours yet.
Yeah, that's
like
hard.
Getting close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's... When I finally got it,
that's also part of why I've thought about doing a podcast, just because of the fact of like pump it out on YouTube and people can watch it in the background.
Yeah. And some of the most popular comedy podcasts are going to single camera, handheld mics, no mix, just throwing it up format. Like Matt and Shane's. Matt and Shane's just a single cam and everybody sits on a couch and they don't give a shit. Lemon Party's one camera.
Yeah.
Like this whole 3-camera lighting studio bullshit. It's like kind of going the way of the dodo, but I like it too. I think it adds like a level. See, that's the other thing too. Like I talked to my friend Alexis Guerreros a lot about this, where he's like people don't care about polish anymore. Mm-hmm.
He was like, you do, because you grew up in the generation of where you want everything to look like good and cool. Like the special I produced myself, I spent like a TV amount of money on it. Where now I also know guys who had like a hit dry bar special and then they put out their own second special and it's literally just one camera on them and it's got like 3 million views.
Yeah.
So it's like,
everybody's got a different way.
I know. But also like I give a shit about aesthetics. Like I care about design and the way things look. And I love everything from fucking like Nan Gold. Like I understand like the old Jim Jarmusch shit looks cool because that's all the money they had and they did the best they could and it was a cool aesthetic. But also like,
I think there's a sweet middle ground between like what you can afford to spend and like John Mulaney's $8 million HBO special. Like it didn't need 4 techno cranes.
No.
It didn't need a Steadicam guy on the stage.
No. But like I am the kind of person that like that Aziz Ansari one that was directed by who the fuck directed it? I would love to shoot a special in 16 millimeter. Are you kidding me?
Dude, it drove me nuts because it pops from the wide to a handheld on stage. And it's like, where does that guy go? And there's 8 people in the world that would bother. I'm one of them.
Yeah, no, that I also agree with you. That was a jarring cut. Like that was a little too much for me. But also it was crazy because of the song they used in the beginning too. I was like, fuck, that's totally a song I would use. They used like a Velvet Underground kind of song.
Yeah, and that walk and talk to open it up where he just walks right onto the stage. I mean, get out of here. That was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
But
yeah, CK also did that in Hilarious, except it was him just pulling up in his like Lexus and walking up and onto stage.
It's one of the most played out things in stand-up specials is like the walk from the green room and whatever.
My friends did that when we were 20-year-olds 20 years ago in Chicago with their improv group.
But when done right.
It's killer.
In black and white. And then
So
Wizard
cool.
of Oz that shit when you walk on stage.
It's perfect.
Yes.
I really love the aesthetics and the style and the design of it. Who directed it? It's the same guy. I think it might be the same dude who directed Her, the stand-up special.
It's one of those guys. It's when you say his name, I'm going to be like,
yeah, it's the guy who owns Girl Skateboards.
Yes.
Sophia Coppola's ex-husband.
He did that army movie. Oh, and he's also an actor.
Yeah. Spike Jonze.
Yes.
Shouldn't have took me that long. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's Spike Jonze.
I'm almost positive it's Spike Jonze.
I thought it was somebody fancier. But Spike sounds right. Spike sounds like a guy that would do that.
Yeah.
But that I just couldn't deal with. I mean, I get why he sat there and ran it and it's something cut to, but
yeah, but it's also like, so either he did this with a cameraman standing directly in his face in front of the audience.
Empty theater. Had to be.
Yeah, which is like,
I mean, Mulaney did it too.
What do you mean?
When Mulaney had his Steadicam guy on stage, there's no way they're going to do that with 7,000 people in the audience. He did it at Rockefeller
Radio City Music Hall.
Yeah.
Which is, I give him a lot of credit. I've played that room. That room is hard as fuck.
Yeah.
It's just because of the physical layout of that room. It's hard for stand up.
High ceilings too.
High ceilings and then big long rows before the tiers of people, the balconies. Like, give me a Moore Theater in Seattle where it's like a straight wall. Like, that's the best. Or the Capitol Theater in New York where it's like a straight wall. But that, like, Rockefeller is, you're throwing jokes down a hallway, a long hallway.
Yeah. I think the best size venue for a comedy special is 200 to 400.
See? Yeah, mine was about 200 and it felt pretty great.
I like it with a balcony where people can stand. I think a rock and roll club.
Yeah.
Like a 2 to 4.
I did mine in like a warehouse, literally, like a warehouse with a balcony, kind of thing.
I did one for Drew Lynch in Atlanta, and it was an 800 seater.
Yeah,
and we almost sold the second one out, but it just felt too big.
Yeah,
which you want the size of the stage to be grandiose, but
my next one I'm doing something small, and the one after that I know what I'm doing for my third one.
Yeah,
like I have a room that's just like a banquet hall room that I think looks cool. That I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna put a stage in the middle of that.
In the middle,
more or less, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, with people like around me, like three quarters. Not like the full in the round. I've done in the round before. I hate it.
It's in the round would be hard to shoot. Tom Segura did his in Phoenix for his last one.
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
He just 3/4'd off some lights so that they were shooting from like.
Yeah, he did that same room there where the CK Oh My God and the George Carlin special were done.
And D'Elia did one there too.
Oh, yeah.
I think, or did a tour vlog from there.
Yeah.
This is super inside baseball, guys. Sorry.
Yeah.
But if you listen to this, you like all this shit. So.
Yeah. I did the Nassau Coliseum years ago, and that's in the round, and like I remember doing that gig, and it was a really fun gig, but it was also like
Yeah. I lost
Every
a
couple of
directing
seconds.
gig because I direct comedy specials too.
Oh, cool.
With this shit. But I was talking to a client. He was like, I want to do it in the round. And I was like, do you want me to put one 360 cam over your head or do you want 16 cameras? And he was like, what, 16? He's like, oh, I want it to be crowd work. I'm like, okay. So I got to cover you here and I widen a close up times 4 because you never
Yeah.
stop moving. And then I have to be ready to hit any audience member at any time,
Yeah.
depending on who you're going to talk to. That's at least 16 cameras.
Yep.
And he was like, well, what does that cost? And I was like, here's my producer's budget. And he was like, no fucking way.
That's so funny.
We didn't do it.
Yeah, no, that's insane.
Yeah. I mean, Mike Falzone just sold Surrounded and they shot it in Montreal.
Yeah.
And I was talking to him, I was like, how many cameras? He was like, 12.
Yeah.
I was like, that's the minimum.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
And
it's
that's
mostly audience in Surrounded, so he could get away with it. And it's
Yeah.
only like 50 people. This guy
Yeah.
wanted to do like 200-300. I'm like, come on, man.
yeah, that's nuts.
Covering 300 people just go like, who's talking? Like, you need sports guys that are ready to just move around and find the right guy. And like,
Yeah. Big J did a crowd work TV show a bunch of years ago on Peacock called What's Your Fucking Deal? And that they even like with a good budget still kept it in a pretty small room.
you have to.
Yeah.
I mean, I help Jeremiah Watkins with stand up on the spot in the
Yeah,
belly
yeah.
room. And what was it, 80 people or something?
Belly room,
Yeah.
75, I think.
Yeah. And it's like, that's tough too.
Yeah.
With plant cameras and like operators and everything. It's still
Yeah,
like,
it cuts it down.
yeah. It's like, that's still a lot
Yeah.
because it's dark as shit in there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think comedy is one of the hardest things to shoot because of the low light.
Yeah, and also I feel like most people don't. I feel like it's hard to make it feel cinematic and alive. Mm-hmm. So I feel like most stand-up specials and sound alive.
Yeah.
I feel like most people they don't know how to mic a stand-up show, so it sounds like shit. I remember like people being like, yeah, we mic the crowd, and it's like Mike shooting straight down. It's like people laugh forward, dude. Mm-hmm. You need 2 booms on the stage facing the crowd so that you're getting that like laugh into the mics. Mm-hmm. So because what it sounds like on stage, and I had 2 friends record in the same comedy club, and one of their specials were just the mics from the top, and the other one they like hired a guy and he came and set up like 2 booms at the front, and they sound insanely different. One of them you're like, this is one of the best sounding comedy albums ever, and the other one like, that's a good album.
Yeah. If you get lucky with the front row. I think.
My special, I had these ladies in the front who were like, yeah, woo. And it's like, it made the energy that night in the room great, but it made the sound editing for my editor a kind of a nightmare, and like trying to mix it and like pull them back. Like I had to like use some jokes from the show that I didn't like as much just because of the fact that they were screaming too much and like stuff like that.
My first one that I did with Drew last January in San Jose, we just planted a bunch of Zoom recorders all over the room.
Yeah.
It was great until like every show there was one that we just had to throw in the trash because it's just like these guys are talking about whatever the whole show.
Yeah.
It's like it wasn't directional, and I mean it was too directional instead of being more like ambient. I don't know sound words.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
pro sound words. That's
Yeah.
what sound guys are for.
Yeah.
But
yeah, and I just think a lot of people just don't know how to make them look a little bit more cinematic.
Yeah.
That's why I like the Gerard Carmichael ones, because that Bo Burnham directed, or like because they feel more like a little bit more like a movie.
yeah.
Like you're pulled into the person's life.
Yeah, I think there has to be a purpose for moving the camera.
Yeah.
Like there's a couple that are just like they're on sliders and they're drifting, but like why is the camera moving?
Yeah, I think that's just a thing if they think it adds value. It's like all the old crane shots in the old Comedy Central half hours. It's like, why? You don't need those.
No, I think you have the crane, so when you cut to the wide, you can see the crane sweeping. I think that's the only reason that the jib is there.
Yeah,
You
100%.
need it for the walk on and the walk off, but that's $1,500 and plus the operator.
Yeah.
So like whose ego are you paying for?
My special, we just planted one camera up in the bird's nest in the balcony, and we got a couple of wide shots for big laughs just to let people. I wanted the people that I was trying to sell the show, the special to know the size of it, to give it a little bit of like grand scope.
Yeah.
Because I knew that's what they would want.
Yeah. I've had a couple of clients talk me out of getting crowd reaction shots.
I didn't have any in mind.
It's a preference, but did you shoot one show or 2? Shot 2 shows.
2 shows.
So as as a comedian, you'll go like, I like the setup from show 1. I like the punchline from show 2.
Yeah.
But if you're not holding the mic in the same hand or you're not on the same side of the stage,
yeah,
I got to cut to something to get. I call it edit holes, right? So
yeah, we even went. What we did as our like backup in case we needed that, we shot a behind me on stage shot.
Yeah.
Up like into the lights of me just like pacing, walking back and forth, like the back of me, where it was just straight up into the light and you couldn't see any of the audience. So we had that to cut to,
right.
But then we never ended up needing to use it.
I'll always plant that camera, but since it's on stage, there's not anybody to check it. So sometimes the batteries run out or it's out of focus.
Yeah.
Or it's blown out.
Ours lasted about half the show.
Yeah. But if you have you going down and back one time, you have the shot.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I like seeing the audience though. I don't like it blown out into the lights. Because that's my laugh shot that I really want.
Yeah, in mine you can see the front side rows in some of the shots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you're a comedian that's gonna put crowd work in your special, you have to see the people you're talking to.
100%. Yeah. That's one of the biggest problems with crowd work online. And what I hear from people is like, you talk about how a person looks and we can't see them. And I know some people who like put GoPros out now and stuff like that, but that's like,
there's a bunch of tricks to try and get that front row because most people don't talk further than they can see.
Yeah.
So it's one of the first 3 rows. But the guy that I'm on the road with right now doesn't want the audience to see the camera.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, you can have one or the other. Like,
I have a little DJI Pocket 2 that I tried doing, but
love those things.
Yeah, it doesn't work great for shooting into the crowd though.
Yeah.
The Action 2, the like their action camera, the like wide angle,
got it,
like
the
square
GoPro.
one that's like this big. I have a DJI Pocket 3, and that's what I use to film all my vlog stuff, and that thing is magic. That thing has rock steady stabilization. It looks like cinema quality. It looks better than an iPhone. It's unreal, and it costs like $250, $300.
Yeah, $500 if you want the little microphone and all that shit.
Yeah.
I got one in my bag right now, and I'll tell you what, I have the big gimbal that can hold these little cinema cameras to make great, amazing, fluid Steadicam shots. But if I'm in an airport with an artist, or if I'm in like
It's
backstage or whatever,
that's what I use it for.
Just pull it out, and it's like no one knows that.
And the mic on it is so good, you don't even need to wear a lav.
I know. I can't figure it out. It's just a little tiny pinhole on the side.
And there's 3 pinholes around it. And
oh, really?
Yeah, one in the back in case you're doing one direction, one towards you, and one on the side.
Do you have the new one with the flippy screen?
I do.
How's the flippy screen?
It's great. Yeah, it's nice to just be able to flip it, and then you see the frame. I don't film any of the vertical shit because I'm like, I'll just edit it into vertical in post if I need to.
I would like to be able to shoot in 9:16. I want to be able to shoot in vertical.
Yeah, everything. But I'm like shooting the stuff for the vlog and for long form for YouTube.
How long is your vlog normally?
Everyone has been a different length. Yeah. So like a couple of them are like 10, 12 minutes. It's like, this is me as an American comic in London. This is me in Liverpool. This is how I edit my vlog, or not vlog. This is how I edit stand-up clips. This is the gear I use to film stand-up on the road. So I've done like a bunch of little different things. Yeah, but usually they're usually about 10 minutes long, or 12 minutes.
Yeah, smart.
And then some of the shorter ones are like 5 and 6, and the longest one's 45.
Right.
Which I probably should have broke up into like 2 episodes in retrospect, but that's fine.
Yeah, part 1, part 2, or 3.
Yeah.
You got to be over 8 minutes on YouTube to get an ad break. So as long as they're 8 minutes, you can get a mid-roll.
Yeah. Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all about the money.
Yeah, and it's just being your own studio and your own boss.
Yeah. That's the tricky part. And it's also like finding enough people to collaborate with, which I think is the magic of podcasting. Right? Because I'll clip this up and I'll offer you a collab on it.
Yeah, and I will.
And you can.
I haven't said anything funny yet, but once we...
But I'm an editor also, so I'll make it funny. I'll be like, soccer is not good. It'll just be bad like that.
Just me surrounded by drawn dicks around my face.
But I'll probably overclip it, and there'll be a point at which you're going to be like, I already collabed with like 2. I don't think I'm going to do any more of that. And I get that. I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah.
When I send the first clip to anybody, I'm like, listen, there's a lot of these coming.
Yeah.
So like, do you want to see all of them at once before you decide if you want to collab on this? Because tomorrow's might be better. Like, I give people the option.
Yeah.
And I've had people go, I should have collabed today. It's so much better than yesterday. And I'm like,
Yeah, for me, so much of it too, like the nice thing about the vlog was there was just like a couple months where when I was in Europe and there was a lot going on and things to talk about, it just gave me a break from posting stand-up stuff all the time. And the truth is like, I'm a stand-up, but I'm also a fucking person, and I don't want to just be a joke robot on the internet.
Right.
I want people to actually get to know me so that they get invested in what I'm doing, which is why I started the vlog.
Yeah.
Just talking about how I'm kind of at rock bottom in my career, and I'm trying to like dig myself out by doing something new with like the pop-up shows and the vlog and YouTube, because the way the industry is working right now doesn't really work for the middle-class comic anymore.
Yeah.
I've been doing stand-up full-time for 11 or 12 years. And like the way I was able to make a living almost does not exist anymore. So it's like, I got to do something else.
Do you think the shift started before Pandy, or is it Pandy's fault?
I think the pandemic was kind of the end of it. But like a lot of the smaller comedy clubs closed, and like everybody switched to only caring about social numbers, and like,
Which don't equate to ticket sales.
no. Like that's the other thing too. It does, like I'm still learning how to like, I have followers, but like learning how to get people out is a totally different thing. Some people, they just buy into you and your world, and they just want to be a part of you and support you and see you. And like, I still haven't 100% figured that out yet. But I also think that's because of the fact that like I'm still like growing as a person and a comic, so that like as I get more personal or more angry, people tend to connect a little bit more.
Yeah. My favorite thing as a comedy photographer is or videographer is being in the back of the room and watching a punchline land and seeing this, and then the head turner goes, that's so true. I do that. Like relatability of the crowd. And then sometimes, you know, on some of the like 50 comics in a night shows, I'll hear a guy come back to the green room and be like, man, I just ate shit. I'm like, no, dude, I was in the back of the room. Like I heard people laughing.
Yeah.
It's just this weird, like having watched hundreds and hundreds of shows as a photographer, and then now getting up on stage more often, it's like I'm trying to remind myself, it's like there might be somebody in the back laughing that I can't hear from up here, so I'm just gonna fucking keep on trucking.
Yes. Yeah. And there are some rooms like the Irvine Improv that you could be doing great and you're on stage and it doesn't sound that good, and then you listen back to the tape and you were like, oh, I was doing great.
Yeah.
I don't know why I didn't think I was doing well.
Or the Brea Improv.
Yeah.
That thing's
just some of
600
those
people.
Yeah, some of those massive rooms where you're like, all the people who are bright lit up front aren't laughing as hard as the people who are in the dark couple rows back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I could talk to you for fucking hours.
Same.
But it is getting on towards almost time to go to work
Okay.
at the Improv.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
More
I
photos.
got to shoot tonight.
Nice. You were there on Wednesday when we did our show, which
That's
is
correct.
how this got lined up. That was a fun ass show.
That was a good one, but that was too many comics from a photography standpoint.
Oh yeah. You had to wait for. I think they were originally that was supposed to be 2 shows.
Yeah.
And I think they just combined them because the most famous person had to some of the more famous people had to get out of there sooner.
Well, I don't get paid by the comic.
Yeah, you get paid by the show.
Or I would have made a lot of money last night. It was twice the volume.
Yeah.
Which is fine. They're very good to me.
Photos of me are cool.
Yeah.
I normally hate photos of me.
Did you see the whole set?
Yeah.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah, my girlfriend liked them.
Nice.
The one they posted, the one the Improv posted of me, I was like, oh, that's a fun photo of me. Because normally ones where I'm making like crazy faces or whatever, I'm like, look at me, I look like a fat piece of shit. And then that one, I was like, you look like a chubby, okay piece of shit.
I see the shots that are, listen, Troy and Liz, if you know comedy photography,
love them.
You know who they are.
Yeah.
But the people that the club posts that are not one of the 3 of us, it's like a guy, there's no expression. There's nothing, he doesn't tell a story. You want to see a comedian make a face you've never seen them make or laugh.
Yeah.
Like you catch a comedian laughing, it's like they were doing something very funny.
Yeah, the show was fun.
Yeah. So it's, for me, I'm looking for those moments because I don't want it to be like, here's a picture of Dane Cook.
Yeah.
Like, no, like, let's see Dane doing Dane stuff. You can almost hear Sebastian in a photograph.
Oh, 100%.
He does the thing, right?
Yeah.
So you always want to get that Sebastian in.
Yeah. The Matador moves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was really my way in the back door of comedy was I'm just going to grab my camera.
It's smart, dude.
Yeah, I shot 500 shows for free before anybody started paying me for it.
Damn.
But I got to go to comedy every single night.
That's great. And it's like that thing when I used to follow around Big J all the time, seeing it all the time and seeing really good people work helps you get better. Like I am a person where a lot of times after my shows, people will be like, wow, that crowd work, you talking to the people, that was so good. That was incredible. And it's like, yeah, it's because I watched Big J Okerson literally do thousands of hours of crowd work and I learned how to do it from the best. There's a book called The Inner Game of Tennis that talks all about, it's big in like improv comedy circles that literally just talks about how like Sometimes instead of someone telling you how to do something, you just watch somebody good who's doing it and you will internalize how to do it yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things with stand-up, especially when you're starting out. You just got to fucking be on it and around it 24/7.
Yeah, and I was fortunate enough to have toured with so many people and watched their hour every single night to the point where I could do their hour.
Yeah.
And now, I mean...
Yeah, I can do Joel McHale's hour like that.
Yeah.
Without even thinking about it.
I could do, before Tim put his last special out, I could do his hour.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I could have probably done Whitney's, that robot one. Can I touch it? That one. Yeah.
I have an idea about doing other people's jokes, but I'm going to tell you off air because if it's good, I don't want to burn it on the pod.
Yeah.
But JF, Mr. Harris.
Yes. Thank you
What
for
does JF stand for? Does it stand
James Francis. When I started, there were 3 other James Harrises in stand-up, and there was this dude who worked for JFL at the time, and he was like, you got to change your name because those other ones. And he was also booking like comics in New York City, and I was like, okay, I'll do that. And now none of them do stand-up, so I could have stayed James Harris. But it
JF
also
is cool though.
It signifies a point in my career when I started taking it very seriously.
Yeah.
And if we know anything's really important in comedy, it's taking it very seriously.
That's right. Plus, when you write a book, you could see it on the spine. It's like by JF Harris. Like,
I was like a Paul Thomas Anderson fan and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, it gives it a little bit of a thing. The only thing that sucks is once in a while I'll be like, my name's JF. And people will be like, Jeff?
Oh.
And you're like,
yeah, or a bad host is like,
yeah. Yeah, I get a lot of my host this weekend. She messed it up. She called me something else, but also I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? Like my show this weekend. I did one of these pop up shows. I broke even on it pretty much, but I found a really cool place, and I'm gonna get to keep doing shows there. And I think I'm gonna be able to build it up consistently, which I'm really excited about. There were of the 40 people who bought tickets and came. One of them knew me. Yeah. One of them came because they were an actual fan.
How did the other 39 people find out about it?
Fucking Facebook ads, dude.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you off camera if you did the Facebook ads.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I'm trying to figure out the mix of like how to get my people there mixed with like get new people. Like when I'm in France, I actually do have a good following in Paris. Like I've sold out shows in Paris before.
You could be the Jim Jeffries of France.
Yeah, I would rather be the Jim Jeffries of America because it pays more. But
sure.
Yeah, but I'm happy to live in France and make a bunch of money and come back and forth.
Or what do they spend there? Francs?
Not anymore. It's all euros, which is great.
Okay.
Conversion rate's good. Euros are worth more than dollars. I paid my rent in euros this month.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I took a fat a wad of cash of euros that I had and just fucking deposited it and paid my rent.
Dude, I don't know anybody else that's done that.
Yeah, it's just because over there they treat stand-up a little bit differently. They treat in Europe and in England they treat stand-up like it's an art form.
I've heard that.
Even
a feature can make.
Yeah,
okay
they treat
money.
it like it's theater. Spot pay in England is so much better than spot pay here. I mean, you make okay spot pay, the Improv on a Saturday night, but you can't live on it. You know what I mean? Like, but if you do like 4 spots in a weekend in England, you're living comfortable. That's it. You're not rich, but
yeah,
But
you can pay your rent.
You're getting £250 for a spot
per spot
for the weekend. £200, yeah, or something like it was. If you do 4 in a weekend, you're making like close to $1,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that wave is changing. Sorry, folks. I know we wrapped this up a minute ago. We're going to keep talking as long as we want. I think Rogan has helped changing that because I think he's paying really well at the mothership.
Yeah,
and I think
heard that.
That's making the store pay better.
Yeah. Also, Emily at the store gives a shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I remember a couple months ago, they were talking about it, and she called me to ask around to be like, hey, what's Comedy and Magic pay? What's the Improv pay? Because she was like trying to get the pay up for the comedians.
Right.
Because she cares about them, which is nice.
Yeah, she's the best.
Yeah. Comedy and Magic, also phenomenal. They take care of you. They feed you 5-star food. You get salmon and vegetables and a nice paycheck. And they raised their money recently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Could be changing. Hopefully the C and B level clubs start serving more than chicken wings.
Even those clubs, man, they're not even booking people with TV credits anymore. And even they are dipping into you got to have a following. It's crazy.
Yeah. Money talks.
Yeah.
Or TikTok talks.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
We appreciate it. Thank you for watching, guys.
If you're still watching, thank you.
We'll see you next time.
This show's a piece of shit.